Okay, hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome again to this Q&A clinic for PMS. I think we can slowly start because we have a couple of slides as always, and then we can properly start with the Q&A. So as you know, this session is going to be recorded and will be also made available in the EMA YouTube channel and also in the event webpage. As always, you are able to ask your questions through a Slido. Also, you can give your input. Interaction via Slido is voluntary, and you may opt to remain anonymous. But if you choose to use this tool, then you are giving your consent to process your personal data, as we have explained in the EMA data privacy statement for Slido. A couple of notes on the upcoming events. So we have already scheduled all the Q&A clinics on a monthly basis. This is something, feedback we received from you that you would like to have, that we keep these Q&A sessions during the year. So we have scheduled one of these meetings per month, and you have here the dates and the links to the event page, so you can already put them in your calendar. Then the quarterly system demo is taking place next week on the 26th of June. So you are more than welcome to join and see which are the new updates on the different projects that EMA is delivering. And last but not least, we have the SPORE and XCVMPD status update webinars that are going to be broadcasted on the event page. They are happening on the 9th of July. This is the one for this quarter. And then the 8th of October, we will have a new session for the status updates. You already have the links to the event webpage where you can register, so you can also put them in your calendars if you want to join. So for today, this is the QR for Slido. You can also join using the hashtag PMSQA1706. And with that in mind, I think Vivian, I think you will share the Slido questions. Otherwise, I can maybe do it as well.
Oh, no, no problem. Okay, let me just.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, right. So we've got already a few. So let's start with this. Okay, so on the low-level term should be provided to PMS used from Chapter 3. Table in the Chapter 3 reported high terms and low terms mixed. Could you please clarify this? Is the table correct for the sentence?
Yeah, so I can clarify this. So in principle, when we release the updated Chapter 3, we have removed the high-level terms. So there is a new version of Chapter 3 that we released, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, where there is an updated information on how these manufacturers and the MBO should be provided. And we have removed the high-level terms from this list. Nevertheless, we have received feedback again from our SMEs and from industry that for legacy products, the low-level terms are not captured in EAF. So, for example, if we have the quality control testing for the sterility, this low-level term might not be captured for legacy products. So what we will do is we will update again Chapter 3. Hopefully this will be the last time that we need to do it, because for legacy products, we will allow marketing authorization holders to submit the high-level term. So they will be able to submit the quality control testing for the medicinal product and don't go to the lower terms. So we need to update this part, but in order to do that, we still need to do some development on RMS and in the product UI, and also on the EAF side. So we need to update this information. But in a nutshell, whenever you can, you should use the lower level terms. For legacy products, if you don't have this information in your dossier or was never submitted to the NCA, then you can use the high level term. For new products, you need to use the lower terms because those are the ones that are reflected in the EAF. We will update again chapter 3. We will try to provide examples so we give clear information on this, how this information should be provided to PMS.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, so in the dossier, especially for the old products, but not only for those, these are listed generically as quality control testing or similar. How can we proceed in this case? P.S. Now in the EAF PDF, the high-level terms in drop-down menu are no more present.
Yeah, so that is the case. So for old products, you might have in your dossier or you might have submitted this quality control testing, which is the high-level term. So if this is the case, then you will be allowed to submit this quality control testing. But if you have submitted the lower term, because in EAF, as you say now here, now EAF is not allowing to use the high-level terms. Only the lower terms are present. So for those products where in the EAF you submitted the lower terms, you need to submit the lower terms. For old products where you only have the high-level term, you can submit the high-level term. And this is what we will explain in the new version of chapter 3. But again, in order to release this, we need a bit of deployment on the EAF side, on PMS, the product UI in RMS. So we are still waiting for the feedback on when can we release this part.
Okay, so moving on. So my company has just remediated all the data for MBOs with high-level term. What we have to do now?
So again, for all products, you can still use these high-level terms. For new products or products that were authorized with the lower terms, you need to provide the lower terms. And now when we do this development, as soon as you are able to submit the data, you can just go to the the product UI and perform the enrichment with this information. But again, so again, you will be able to use the high level terms, but if you have submitted the data to the NCAs in the lower terms, then you will need to, map the data correctly to the lower terms. It depends on what you have submitted to the NCAs.
So next question. Sorry, my mouse is not actually working. So after entering and validating manufacturer information for NAPs, the information is not visible in the PMS data. So as if not entered. Is there a general problem?
We need to check what is the change that you have submitted. So if you have the change number, then we would need to, you can open a ticket so we could check if it has been processed correctly or not. If when submitting the change you have this successfully integrated or that the changes has been integrated correctly, then you should wait maybe a couple of hours or maybe half a day to be able to see the data. If still you don't see the data, then you need to open a ticket. So we check, okay, what's the issue with with this change? If it has been received by PMS and where the data is stacked. So yeah, we can have a look. In principle, it is working. So we need to check as case by case if there is any issue.
Okay, so moving on. So after the release of the new PMS FAQ document for the issue related with not being able to access our products, we followed the proposed action of requesting access to historical records in EIM, but it did not work. What should we do then?
Well, first you need to open a ticket and provide the information like, okay, what is your organization EV code, the location ID, and some EV codes of the products that you cannot see. One thing is you cannot see any of those products, and then we need to see how the data is in Iris and how the data is in PMS, and we can check what you need to do. And another thing is you can see some of the products, but are not all, because then it might be a different issue, and it's also explained in the FAQ, like products that don't have the authorized dose form and therefore are not shown in the product UI. So we need to check what is the issue, because every issue is different. So we need to make the analysis on, okay, it's a problem with the mapping in OMS, it's a problem on Iris, you have requested the correct access in IAM. We need all this information so we can make the assessment of the issue.
Moving on. So when it will be available, the list of recommended lock IDs for medicine regulatory authority organizations in Europe as separate annex to Chapter 2?
Maybe Marcos, I can take over this question. So, colleagues, this activity is managed by the NCAs. So we have prepared a file, a document to be populated by the relevant NCAs to tell us exactly which is the lock ID that every user should be using and specify in PMS. However, this is not yet ready. I followed up with our network product owner, so as soon as I receive feedback, I should be able to know the date or roughly when this can be ready in the status, because it's not yet available.
Okay. So, when will the medical device type RMS list be available?
This is a question for RMS. I'll check with them because I don't know what's the plan to implement the dates. But for the moment, we don't plan to open any editing or enrichment for the medical device. So we will let you know.
Okay, next question. So, conformance of reference numbers still not mandatory in Chapter 3, in disagreement with the information provided in Chapter 2. Could you clarify this? During the PMS Info Day, there was talking of optional conformance.
I'm sorry, I was muted. So that is not correct. In section 2.6 of the chapter 2, the conformance of the manufacturing authorization reference number is conditional. It is also conditional in chapter 3. So if you could maybe check, because in both cases it's conditional. I'm checking here chapter 2 and it says conformance, conditional. Yeah, so it's conditional in both chapters.
Okay, so next question. So the minimum mandatory data elements required for PMS enrichment by December 2025 are for manufacturer or manufacturing business operation type MBO, MBO confidentiality indicator, and pack size. Can you please confirm?
Well, it's a bit more. So for the manufacturer, it's actually not the org ID, it's more the log ID, but it's like the manufacturer. Then the manufacturing business operation, yes. The confidentiality indicator as well. We also need to have the start date. And yeah, and then the structure data for the pack size. So yeah, this is correct. And it's for the union list of critical medicines, the deadline for December 2025.
Okay. So when do you expect to release the new update of Chapter 3 with the reintroduction of high-level terms for a legacy dossier?
So I don't have a date yet because I need the estimation on when. So there is an activity that EAF needs to perform. They are aware of what they need to do, but I'm waiting for their feedback on when this can be implemented. Once I know this, I will be able to know when we will be able to have this implementation in PMS, in the product UI, and therefore I will know when the chapter 3 can be updated. But I'm not updating it yet because it's a bit misleading if you read something and then you go to the UI and you are not able to do it. So I'm sorry I cannot provide this information because I'm waiting for some feedback, internal feedback.
Okay. Next question is MBO, both CAPS and non-CAPS products is required CRO information. Does this mean that full CRO information, including the lab test location, is needed?
So for the CROs, what you need to provide is the same as as the data for manufacturers. So in the EAF, there is a section for CROs when you need to say, okay, this is the CRO that is in charge of this bioequivalence study. That is the same information. You need to provide the log ID of the CRO, and then on the manufacturing business operation is this contract research organization. So yeah, whatever you have submitted through the EAF is the information, the specific log ID that you have included in the EAF. This is what we need.
Okay, so what to do with the IS, LI, and O records? Just ignore them in PMS. I'm hesitant as the text in Chapter 2 states that these are legally separate registrations and are therefore merged. I don't fully understand this, hence the hesitation.
Yeah, so this is a feedback that we have received. We need to update chapter 2 because this sentence, so we included this sentence at the beginning of the project. Then we took a different decision on these products for Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. So we know we need to update this sentence, and we will do it in the next time that we update chapter 2. But you don't even need to ignore them in PMS because you will not be able to see them. They are not there. So CAPS, where the authorization status is Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, they are not in the product UI. You will not see them. If you see them, you can ignore them. That doesn't mean that you don't need to submit them to XBMPD. You need to do it because that is an XBMPD requirement. They are just not migrated to PMS. So yeah, if you see any of those in PMS, you can ignore them, but still need to submit them in XBMPD, and we will update chapter 2 to correct this sentence.
Okay, next question. So chapter 2 and 3 are not aligned. In chapter 3, it is reported that the reference number, not mandatory, but can be provided to fulfill additional information. Highly recommended for new authorized manufacturers and MBOs.
Okay, that is similar to the previous one. We will review whatever we have in chapter 2 and try to align. But in both cases, it's not mandatory. So it's highly recommended when you have some information, but we will have a look and try to update this information. Yeah, so if you have the number, please submit it. It's data that we have there, and data that can be used in the future. If you don't have it, as it is for the moment, is not mandatory, then don't submit it.
Okay, perfect. So next question is for manufacturing operation start date as per chapter 2, version 2.3. The conformance of manufacturing operation start date is conditional. However, in PUI, the manufacturer operation start date's conformance is mandatory. Please clarify.
Okay. I'm trying to check the.
In PLM. We need to check and see.
I'm checking chapter 2.
Yeah, chapter 2 says conditional. But I would say we need to check Alex because it takes a bit now. It's a bit slow the system. And we raise with the alignment code.
Okay, we'll have a look. Yeah, we will have a look to this part.
Okay. On. So are there various MAHs that are not able to access none of their products in PMS? Just to understand if it is an issue specific to our company or not.
Yeah, there are some MA holders that are not able to access because of the what is explained in the Q&A document. If companies in OMS have undergone a merge, for example, there might be some cases where the link in PMS is done to an old organization, to the old org ID, the one that is not surviving. So ML holders are required to go to IAM, and there is a specific place where you can say, okay, I want to request access to historical organizations. And there you should be able to see those organizations that have not survived in OMS. In theory, that should solve the issue, but in some cases, the situation is a bit more complex, so we need to assess like case by case what is happening. So I would recommend you to read this Q&A document, try to see if your case fits in one of those use cases. And if not, you can raise a ticket. We have a couple of tickets still open because we are doing some investigations, but we are working on them.
Okay. So moving on. Okay, so the next question is, the MBO type is visible in Power Dynamic reports, for instance, manufacturing operations report, but for same PMS ID, the operation type is not visible in PUI under manufacturer at medicinal product level when we see in display interface. Clarify?
Yeah, this we are going to put a banner to explain what is happening. The information is there. You should be able to see like the start date, the agency, and all the data that you have provided. But in some cases, the only thing that you cannot see is the operation type. This is because all this issue that we have between EAF, IRIS, providing the data for the MBOs, that in some cases the name, like the MBO, like operation type, this I don't know, CRO or the manufacturing for the active substance, you cannot see this specific field, but the rest should be visible. And that is because of this issue that we are having with EAF and everything. So we want to put a banner so everybody knows, okay, there is no, I mean, this issue is known. It's just this part that is missing and we will be able to see it. I think in a couple of weeks it will come back.
Okay, perfect. So next question. So product submission for DCP products with multiple dosage authorized in more than one member state, enrichment must be done for each PMS ID, or will we wait for bookability, right?
Well, that depends on your strategy. I would wait for the bulk update because in theory for DCPs, the information on manufacturers would be the same for all the products in all the countries. So you could use the bulk update to update all the products at the same time. But you can also do it right now. The only issue is that it's product by product. So that is, yeah, it depends what you want to do. The bulk update will allow you to update everything at the same time with the same information. So you update one product and then you, let's say, copy paste the same changes to the rest of the products of the DCP.
Okay, so next question. So after submitting separate package sizes in PLM/PY, newly generated EV sites are not getting updated correctly. Codes, sorry, EV codes.
If codes, yeah.
Maybe
So
Marcos.
that, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, because there is an announcement on the PLM page saying that the PMS is down. So it depends when you have submitted. I don't know if you're talking something about that you submitted a few weeks ago or in the last days. But any change that you submit, it doesn't get propagated to API and PY. So there might be real reasons. It depends when you submitted it. Please, Marcos.
Yeah. There is a deployment on the UPT side, and this is stopping the deltas, and there is a banner in the UI. So if that is your case, then you just need to wait until the deployment is done.
Okay, so next question. So here we go. Okay, what to do if module 3 is not aligned with SMPC? Which document is the reference in PMS?
Well, it depends on which field we are talking about. I would assume that if you are doing the comparison between module 3 and the SMPC, then it's XVMPD data. But in this, also in the XVMPD data, you know that we are allowing, for example, now to submit the data to XVMPD for the composition as in module 3 or as in the SMPC, as you prefer. It's either one or the other. So that depends on you, which one you want to use. If we are talking about authorized form, then you need to use the SMPC because it's the document that we use to validate against when we validate the data in XVMPD. If you talk about the ATC code, it's the same, SMPC. If you, names and everything. So I would say the only moment where you can use module 3 data is on the composition. Otherwise, you need to use the SMPC. And obviously, you should try to align the data, but we know that in the composition sometimes is not the case. But for the rest of the elements, you should have the same authorized dose form in all your documents.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next question is, if a product in XEV-MPD has 2 authorized dose forms for the same EV code, how is this migrated to PMS? We have a case where only one of the authorized dose forms is present in PMS.
Yeah. So in PMS, we have both authorized dose forms in the API, because if you go to chapter 2, you see that the authorized dose form can be repeatable. But there is, in the product UI, you will only be able to see one. This is because of a limitation in Iris and in the product UI. But we are already working to solve this. So hopefully in Q3, you will be able to see both of the authorized dose forms that you have in XCMPD and that we have in PMS. It's something that we are working on, and it should be implemented Q3 the latest.
Okay, perfect. So next question. Okay. So kindly share an update when the data matrix Excel file with PMS data elements and it's used by PMS, PY, EAF, and ESMP plan publication release from SPORE and XEVMPD webinar on April 9th. It was targeted for Q2 2025.
So, colleagues, you can already have a view on the presentation for the PMS Info Day that we hosted in May. There are a bunch of slides where you can already see the which elements have been used by the different application and systems. This information will be translated into an Excel file indeed, as mentioned, the SPORE and any webinar updates. We give the priority to run the UAT for API and PUI, so that's where we're all focusing the energies, let's say the resources, preparing all the documentation also for the release and go live after the UAT. So I'm targeting July, the release for this Excel file, because I didn't have really the time to do that. But July should be easy, and I don't think we're gonna have Greta from change management in a big queue on the publication, because one thing is releasing the document, but one thing is queuing for the release. We have a dedicated team and usually we queue. So I hope July you will be able to access it. But in the meantime, please have access to the PMS info day presentations, section 4. You can see all the elements used in each different team, in each different system and application.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so moving on, next question. When will the bulk update feature be implemented? We have lots of products with the same date, well, name manufacturer, so it would be very useful and we are waiting for it. However, the December 2025 enrichment deadline is fast approaching for our products.
So to release it in production, we need to test the functionality. We tested internally, Marcos and myself, we're refining 2 things, and we plan to launch the UAT on PUI bulk functionality between the 7th of July and the 18th of July. So this will be lasting 1 sprint, 2 weeks. We have onboarded the colleagues, the testers, and then if everything goes smoothly and there are no big blockers for the moment, at least from the internal testing, there aren't any blocker, but we need to see on the big scale with a huge volume of products submitted, if there is anything. The target timelines is end of August, beginning of September.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so next question is, in chapter 2, the conformance of 2.6 manufacturing authorization reference number is conditional, but with a bullet point stating it should be provided without telling the exact manufacturing business operation type, RMS term.
So there is an activity that you don't have visibility on because we want to update chapter 2 exactly on these elements. So when you see conditional, it means that there are conditions indeed. We state at high level which kind of condition these are, but we welcome the comments from the PMS info day asking to specify a bit better which kind of business operations should be part of these conditions. So the activities from us and our subject matter experts in PMS is to identify the operation and then to update chapter 2. We have a call every Wednesday, so tomorrow actually we will meet to try to wrap up and ideally updates also the guide SAP. So that's why you don't see any information at the moment.
Okay. Question is, will the bulk update allow to enrich structured pack sizes of multiple presentations at the same time with the upload of a table?
I'm not sure, Marcus, I don't understand what does it mean upload of a
Yeah,
table.
you cannot upload any table. You need to go through the product UI and yeah, you can enter the data for one product and then you can copy it to another one. I would recommend you to go to the demo next week because we will be showing the bulk update functionality.
Yeah, and there are also several buttons to facilitate user life, like clone buttons. It's a new button that we will be introducing, cloning all at once in the PUI, but yeah.
Yeah, but you are not able to upload.
No, not an Excel
yeah.
file.
Okay. Okay, so next question is, the response related to the CRO question is not clear. Could you please clarify about the actual org to include? One org is the responsible for the study, and several labs performs other duties in the study. Is to provide the labs too?
So no, you need to provide the data for the organization that is responsible for the study. We assume this is the same data that you are providing in the EAF. And this is the request that we have received, that we need to know the responsible organization for the bioequivalence studies.
Okay. Next question. Is the inclusion of manufacturing authority still mandatory when adding manufacturer information?
No, that was changed, and it is not mandatory anymore.
Okay. Next question. Why are the following terms not included in chapter 3.3, even if there are lowest granularity levels in RMS? One is processing of non-sterile medicinal products, and two is manufacturing of active substance starting material using biological processes.
A very specific question. I would need to look for it. Processing.
I think those are equivalent to level 2 in LMS, non-sterile medicinal product manufacturing assets material. Can we deal with?
Yeah, I need to. I need time to reply to this question, so maybe I can reply in a Slido. But also manufacturer. So this. Yeah, I need time to review all the terms and see why they are not there.
Okay, so I think we need to move on then. Okay, so are you planning to update and maintain the PMS release note in PLM? So as the latest update was in 2024, the end of the year. Thanks.
So actually, 40 minutes ago, we finished the meeting to discuss of this PLM release note page. So yeah, we need to discuss how this page is going to be maintained, because one thing is PMS, the other one is the product UI. We have a different release note, so we need to discuss how this page is going to be maintained. So you will receive more information. We are already discussing this at this point, and how to maintain this page, and also the Q&A document and everything. Try to make it a bit more comprehensive for everybody. Don't duplicate information, etc. So yeah, there is a plan to do something with it, but we have just started the discussion.
Yes, so further updates will come this. Okay. So manufacturing authority and reference number are not mandatory. So can we not enrich this info?
Yeah, that is the meaning of not mandatory. That means that you can submit your manufacturers and MBOs without this information.
Okay, so for pack sizes, we'll be able to copy the same information, specifically 28 tablets, into different packages of different products, but same size. And we'll have to repeat the action for all the pack sizes of the full portfolio.
But yeah, that's the thing. You include it once in your product, and then you can say, okay, this 28 tablet, this number and this RMS ID, copy it to this pack size, this pack size, this pack size of different products. But again, go to the demo and you will see how it should be done.
So next question is, I still find EVMPD dose form in the API. These were supposed to be fixed long ago. When will this be finally mapped?
Yeah, so Joseph, you can go to the PMS Q&A document that was updated, and you can see there that we are doing this in Q3. The deltas, so the fact that PMS takes the correct information from the deltas will be released on Thursday, but then the data fix for those products where the authorized dose form is still missing, let's say, or the RMS is missing, it's planned for Q3. There was a delay on the implementation, but we have reviewed, there is no bug, there is nothing, so it's going to happen as a data fix in Q3.
Okay, right. Next question is, therapeutic indications are loaded to PMS coming from SciMed, and Chapter 7 hasn't updated the migration rules since 2024. Our Med DRA version numbers are not reflecting same as XCV MPD for all products. It's not in the Chapter 7.
So indications are coming from XCVMPD, not from SciMed. So chapter 7 is still accurate. We don't need to update anything. And then for the Medra versions, you need to take into account that what we are, you can see in the product UI is the version of RMS, not the version of XCVMPD. But that doesn't mean that is wrong. I don't remember if this is explained somewhere. I think it is. The thing is, in XMPD, you can have, okay, this is my Medra version for my Medra code from version 26, but then in the product UI, you see version 25. This is correct because this RMS ID has not changed since version 25, but that doesn't mean that it is not correct. The code is still the same. The Medra code is valid and is current. But it says that, yeah, this was not updated. Like with the new version of the Medra codes, there was no change on this specific Medra code. So that doesn't mean that is not correct. It's just that you are seeing different information in XCVMPD and in the UI.
Okay, next question. Okay, so the submission of manufacturer. In the POI, some specific sites are not found, nor result or different address postal code. How can we bypass these problems? Raise a ticket or OMS change request? Further, some sites in OMS database are not present in the POI search.
So the data in OMS is correct. The problem is in Iris. Iris sometimes is not taking the latest version of OMS. So, for example, if there is a slightly change on the name, like you add a dot or you change LTD or something like this, that is changed in OMS, but this change is not propagated to Iris and therefore is not shown in the product UI when you are doing these changes. We are discussing internally how this can be solved. There is a project internally to implement the solution, but still you can select this. So if the log ID and the org ID are correct, you can select it even if the postal code or there are slightly changes. It's just this issue that Iris is not taking the latest version. Now, if the site is not present in the UI, then you need to contact us. We are allowing, you can see the inactive organizations, you can see everything. So we need to check why the organization is not available. Maybe it's inactive in Iris, and that might be the reason. So we need to have a look. You could see like, inactive organizations, but sometimes if they are inactive in Iris, then you cannot see them. So you should open a ticket.
Next question. Authority and MA number is not mandatory, but guidelines said in case of manufacturers are involved within the medicinal product manufacturing process and or are sterilization sites for the active substance, this information shall be provided.
Yeah, we will review this part.
Okay, next question is, when will be available the list of recommended lock IDs for medicinal regulatory authority organizations in Europe as separate Annex 3 to Chapter 2?
It's a duplicate of the previous question. As I mentioned, this is an activity led by the network product owner in cooperation with the NCAs. And I have requested an update because we don't know exactly the date of the publication. So we need to wait their information. They need to tell us which locks ID they want you to use.
Okay, thank you. So hopefully that's clear now. Okay, so the MBO for Bioequivalence Contract Research Organization has been added to the list of MBO in Chapter 3. Do you intend to recommend this activity as mandatory for the generic product, especially when the products are old products?
Yes. So here we are following the same timelines as the other product. If your product is considered a critical product, then you need to do it before December this year. Then for the rest of the products by the end of next year. The idea is because this information will be used by EAF, but it will also be used, as explained in Chapter 3, by the referrals team. So in case there is a referral for a specific products due to the CROs, then we have this information and the referral can be done faster, and we can contact the MA holders faster. So at the end of the day, like by the end of next year, all the generics should have this information, even if they are old products.
Okay. So next question is, how to update data in PLM for products of my organization? Which data is mandatory to populate and which can stay empty?
Wow.
This is quite general. Yes.
It's general.
I would recommend you to go to Chapter 7 and Chapter 9 because you cannot update data in PLM for all your products and mandatory or empty. Like most of the data, you should submit it through XCVMPD, and then only the one that is part of the enrichment, which is manufacturers, MBOs, and structure pack size data is to be done through PLM. And then in Chapter 3 and Chapter 2, you have which ones are mandatory, which are optional. So it's a bit of a big question, like we don't have time in 10 minutes to go through all the information that should be provided here for this question.
But maybe you can refer to the presentation that we hosted on the 28th of January. Everything is available on the EMA website. There is a presentation when we went live with PUI enrichment. You can see the list of elements that you can enter, how to request the role, which document to follow for the registration process. And I don't know if the colleague is an SME, a small and medium enterprise, maybe Marcos also, the presentation that you have hosted, I think it was February, to support the small and medium enterprises, how to make it easier for them. I'll fish the link and try to enter in the comment.
So next question is, some of my products didn't migrate completely in PMS. Some PRD has not been migrated even after small changes, and hence some packaging are missing. What can I do?
So if those products are transferred, and maybe based on the question, I would say some of them might be transferred after the initial load in PMS, then you need to go to chapter, the Q&A document. It is explained what is happening with this product, so you might not be able to see those packages that were transferred. But this is also going to be solved in Q3 together with the authorized dose form back. Otherwise, you can open a ticket so we can have a look why the product is there, but some packages are missing. But if it's the case of a transfer, then this might be the issue. But I would maybe recommend you to open a ticket so we can check.
Okay. So we still have 8 minutes left. So in a few minutes, we will launch also our feedback survey. But let's continue for now. It is not clear or not mentioned which MBOs are mandatory and which are not. Is it possible to specify which are mandatory and which are conditional and which are optional?
There is no such a thing of mandatory, optional, or conditional MBO. You need to provide those that were submitted together with your application form or that are captured in your dossier. So, for example, if you I'm trying to look for like if you are not using a biological process, then the manufacturing of active substance using a biological process, that is not for you because your product doesn't have this business operation. There is no manufacturing performing this action. But for sure, you will have a batch releaser. That is, let's say, mandatory for all of them, but it's not mandatory. You have submitted this information within the EAF. So, yeah, those that are submitted throughout the life cycle of your product and that are captured in your dossier, these are the ones that you need to provide. So every product will be slightly different. There will be MBOs that are specific, like for biological products. Others are the same for all the products, like the active substance manufacturer or the batch releaser, but then others are specific. So yeah, that we cannot really say, yeah, these are mandatory or these are optional. It's a bit of case by case on the product. You should know which are the ones that you have registered within your NCA.
Okay, perfect. So next question, and I just wanted to say that I think we've actually just launched the survey, okay, the feedback survey. So please provide your feedback, which is always super useful for us, okay, for future Q&A clinics. So yes, it should have been launched now. Okay, so we've got a few minutes left, so let's continue with the questions. Okay, so XEV MPD package sizes are the basis for the EIF. Without separate data fields for each package size, not all package sizes can currently be selected and included in the EIF. So must herbals and homeopathics also be split by package size?
So herbal and homeopathics are not mandatory in XCBMPD. They are not mandatory in PMS. We are just allowing the submission to XCBMPD in case you need to use them in the EAF. So if in the EAF you need all the packages and all the pack sizes, then you need to submit them in XCBMPD. Yeah, if you have the need to have them in EAF, then the only way to have them is submitting them to XCBMPD.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure if you need all the pack sizes. That is the question for EAF, not for us. If you don't need all the pack sizes, then just one record in XCBMPD should be enough. But if you need all the pack sizes, then yes, all this information should be provided to XCBMPD.
Okay. So moving on, next question. Okay, there it works. Variations for non-caps can be submitted after EOP of DCP, even if the national MA is not yet granted. National phase can take months in single countries. Can the EIF be used in this case, or how can the product be accessed in PMS?
Yeah, in the Q&A document, this is explained. In chapter 3.2 of XCBMPD, this is also explained. So we are allowing now marketing authorization holders to submit pending products that are pending on the national phase. There is a specific authorization status in XCBMPD, which is called valid pending national phase. So you can submit this information to XCBMPD. They will be available in PMS and therefore in the EAF. So you will be able to use those products in the variation form. There is a bug with this with this authorization status that we will solve beginning of Q3. But you can already start submitting those products to XCBMPD. I would recommend you to go through to chapter 3.2 of XCBMPD and the Q&A document of PMS.
So, just I think one last question. Okay, so some updates in XCBMPD, for example, presentation names, create additional medicinal products, one representing both days, not the updated one. Is this bug known? When fixed?
Let me see if I have understood the question. Some updates.
So changes to the presentation names creates additional products. Yes, because if you have a different full name, then it will trigger a new PMS ID. So I think this is the issue, Marcus.
Yeah, if you have a product in PMS that is made by more than one EV code, if you change the name in one of them and not in the other, then you have a duplicate. But if you update the name in all the presentations, then yeah, a new PMS ID is created because one of the defining elements of PMS is the name. So if you change it, then there is a change on the ID.
Right, so we have just time for one last question, and we will close the Q&A. So, is there any deadline for MAHs to provide check data correctness in PLM portal?
No, there is not.
Okay, so perfect. So, colleagues, I'll leave the word to you, to Veronica and Marcus, to close this session, and please remember to answer also our feedback survey. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining again this Q&A. And yeah, we will keep replying to your tickets in ServiceNow and providing additional feedback on the different sessions that we have, like the Spore updates and the system demo. And yeah, wish you a nice day ahead. And thank you very much.